My name is Jeremie Saunders. I am an actor, a podcast producer and host, and a storyteller. And, all right, well, let's start this off with a question. You're not going to be able to answer this question with me hearing it, but we'll just play around with it and see what happens. If you had the opportunity to rub a genie out of a bottle, and that genie popped out, and instead of giving you a wish, the genie said, I can tell you when your expiration date will be. What do you think you would say, yes or no? The crazy thing is I've had this experience happen. And I had no choice. The genie just went ahead and told me. Now, of course, it wasn't actually a genie. Genies don't exist in bottles. But this genie, per se, was a pamphlet. Maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So I live with cystic fibrosis. It is a genetic and fatal disease. And when I was 10 years old, unbeknownst to me, cystic fibrosis was a fatal disease, and I came across this pamphlet, and in the pamphlet I read a sentence, and the sentence would go on to change my life in ways that I could never have imagined. The sentence read, cystic fibrosis is a fatal genetic disease. Duh. Okay, we got that far. But the next sentence is what really kind of struck a chord. The life expectancy of someone living with cystic fibrosis is 30 years of age. 10 years old. I just found out that I've already lived 1/3 of my life. At 10 years old, I probably sort of wrapped that up and made sense of it by thinking, I can only do what I've done up to this point 2 more times. What kind of effect do you think that that would have on your life? Some people might think that that would have a negative effect, but I like to think that it had the most profound effect on my life possible. I say this a lot, but some people might find this a bit of a shock, but I can honestly say that without a doubt, cystic fibrosis, my diagnosis of cystic fibrosis, is one of the best things that has ever happened to me. CF has opened up my eyes so wide that it fundamentally changed what it means to live day in, day out. No longer does that sentence, cystic fibrosis is a fatal disease, carry the weight of like anxiety and fear and anger that it once held. Today, I look at that situation and instead I see a fuel to kind of drive me, to propel me, to strive, to achieve. CF essentially gave me the impetus to stop accepting my own mortality and instead embrace my own mortality with open arms. To totally take it in. And in turn, I could take that freedom and kind of spread it out into my life and live like nothing was unattainable. And I think there's a really great power in that. Because although I'm not alone in living with cystic fibrosis, it's also not a very common thing. I mean, you could probably count on your hand, if any, how many people you know who live with cystic fibrosis. But I think what I'm really not alone in is the fact that we all have our own BS. We all have our own issues. We all go through hardship. And in those moments of hardship, we have 2 options. We can let it consume us and affect us for the negative, or we can try to take a moment to step back, look at that situation, look at the cards we've been dealt, and try to find a way to shift our perspective. I'm not a religious person. But one thing that I do know is that a lot of people who do follow a religion, they believe that everything is meant for a reason. And when you believe everything is meant for a reason, when the hard things come your way, it's a lot easier for you to think, well, if this is happening now, there's a reason for this. And although this is really crappy and I'm not enjoying this and this is a really hard time in my life, there's going to be a silver lining. And there's something really amazing about that. And I think that that is something that, whether you're religious or not, there's value to searching for that silver lining. So take a moment today to just back out of your life, look at it from this third person perspective, root out and search for the things that have challenged you, the things that are currently challenging you, and see how you can look at those things and flip it so that it can work for you. Again, my diagnosis is the best thing that has ever happened to me, and I can say that truly. Stay tuned for the next episode of Punches of Pink.